So, guys, welcome back to another episode of Ike at MMA. I'm here with a new guest who's appearing on my show for the first time. One of the first fighters I'm interviewing solo. My own, usually in the past, I'll do it with at least one of my co-hosts. So, Noah Mannion, welcome to the show, and it's great to have you here.
Oh, thank you. It's a pleasure.
So look, I saw you fight last weekend, and it was spectacular just how you got that win in such a short space of time. But I want to take things straight back to the beginning. The beginning of the story. How did you get
Mm.
involved in not necessarily mixed martial arts, but let's looking at a broader picture. Um, Combat sports as a whole. What really aroused your interest in that sport?
So, beginning like many years ago, so I would say I held 12 or 13 years old. And my main purpose really at the time was just to get into it for self-defense. Because there was one incident, it happened more than once actually. I was walking back home from school and I ended up getting robbed from a from a group of people, not that much older than me, like maybe they were a bit older actually, like 18 or something. And I remember just feeling like helpless, not knowing what to do. I didn't have any means to defend myself at the time. And obviously I was quite intimidated as well, because I couldn't defend myself at all. But in those incidents, I was very lucky because I remember one time I was walking home with my mate from school, who I still who I'm still good friends with. We were just walking up, and these two guys, they were like, "Oh, give me your fucking phone." They were like, we didn't know like what to do. We were just shitting ourselves, and then just out of luck, I know a car came and honked its horn, and then they just went, because I guess they, it scared them a bit, that someone else got involved, and I'm thankful for that. But yeah, these kind of incidents happened more than once, and I was lucky that I didn't get seriously hurt. But it came to a point where I was like, I'm kind of sick and tired of running into these situations and not really having, not really knowing what to do, you know,
Mm.
like basically just quite helpless, really, you know. And I just wanted to learn how to defend myself. So I was looking at, different kinds of martial arts. I was like, Googling it all through. And if I found like there was a judo club nearby where I lived. And that's what, that was the first martial art I started, judo. And then after like several months of training, I started competing judo, which I enjoyed, and then it developed from that where not only did I want just to learn to defend myself, but I actually wanted to go out there and start competing. And
No,
that's the story, man. So this is going back more than 10 years ago.
no, I can understand that. I know what that feels like because just towards the tail end of my secondary school years, there was, and I remember the day, I remember the time, even just what the weather
Yeah,
conditions were like. Just unfortunately, with my own experience, I tend to remember the negative things that's happened in my past in comparison to some of the positive things. I
yeah.
myself around when I was in year 11, I was 15. I was robbed as well.
Mm,
They took my phone, and at the time I did feel quite helpless and very powerless. And it wasn't until so many years later that I got involved, or at least took I decided to just go for just one kickboxing class, and really
yeah.
the reason why I'd done that, not just because of learning self defense, but it was in 2020 that when the pandemic had started and we were in the lockdown. So I thought the gyms are shut. There's nowhere else to really train and get a proper workout in. So let me try this kickboxing classes and see what it's like. And the first time, it just felt good. It's very therapeutic. If you've had a bad day or a bad night, whatever, it's a good way of
Yeah.
getting rid of all that stress and frustration and fury. So after doing one of those classes, I felt good, and from then on, my interest in mixed martial arts grew, and I just tried to get really involved in the sport. So I do
Mm.
understand where you're coming from. I can empathize with you.
Yeah, me too. Like in your case as well, man. Like, sorry you had to go through that,
Mm,
and hopefully, if something like that did happen again, that you would
because yeah.
you know be able to deal with it in the best way.
Going on from how you got involved, what really sparks your interest in the sport. Um,
Mm.
because of the nature of the sport, how the sport says, there's the good side, winning, and the other positive attributes, keeping fit, maintaining a healthy lifestyle, a healthy diet. But there's also the negatives such as injury, head injury.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
I saw you started in your professional career. You've started with a win, which is really, really good. Um,
Hmm.
but at the same time, has family ever wondered and have they shown any concern as to what the long-term complications and consequences of those injuries could have in your life? Because you're what, 24, 25, you're still very young.
24, 24. Yeah.
So you're still extremely young. So you still got a lot of time ahead of you. So but the injuries from mixed martial arts and combat sports, they can be lifelong lasting. I mean,
Yeah.
has anyone ever discouraged you from staying in the sport?
Um, I wouldn't say discouraged, but definitely I've had family expressing their concern, for my well-being. Like they've been there firsthand where, they've been to fight. Like my dad, for example, he was there at my professional debut, but he's been there like back in my amateur fights where, I've been smashed, and it's not nice for them to see as a parent, I think. So they've definitely, um, he's definitely gone there to express himself, to express like his feelings of concern, but I think at the same time, like my family as well, they're aware of like how much the sport has given to me as well. It's how much it's done for me in a positive light as well. Because I'm not gonna lie, like uh, training and like doing this sport, it's given me a focus, and at times it would be the only thing that what's the word? It would be the only thing that I'd enjoy because I was going through a bit of hardship in my personal life as well throughout my teens. And as you said earlier, when you're at training, you completely like forget about all the outside bullshit that
Yes, yeah,
goes
of
on in your
course.
life. So I think they're aware of that too. You know, like I think as a young person growing up, especially, it just gives you that focus, and I think it develops a lot of personal attributes that you can take into your life, not just from in training, but outside of training too.
No, no, of course. I mean, you mentioned your dad.
Mm,
Your mom hasn't said anything because even when I did my one or two, how I explained to you how I got involved into the sport, how my interest in the sport grew, and I haven't, of course, at my age, I have no intention of competing professionally, but my mother did express her concerns that she just doesn't want me doing it because she thinks one way or the other I'm going to hurt myself badly. Your mom on her
mm.
side, she didn't express any
No,
concern.
she has as well. But at the same time, she understands too because okay, it's not the same thing, but growing up as well, she competed at a very high level in ballet. She actually ended up being second ranked in her country
Mm,
because my mom is from Japan,
Okay.
So she competed in ballet for at a very high level, and she understands like the commitment and stuff, and yeah, she understands the risks too. But I think from any sport you do, there is a risk of injury, you know, like even the likes of rugby, um, football, there's that head injuries and things like that,
Yeah.
you know, like even football, like English football, you see people like busting their knees ligaments all the time, so I think people tend to overlook the general sports that are so popular today. They tend to almost overlook like the injuries that can happen from that.
Yeah.
Whereas with fighting, it's like, yeah, the intent is to do damage to your opponent, but at the same time as well, like with MMA, like with the referee, for example, if you're taking too much damage, the ref will step in and stop it. Boxing, for example, you get knocked down, you still have that option of getting back up. So, like, you can actually end up doing more damage to yourself. So it varies on each sport.
Mm-hmm.
I think every sport has its risk,
Yeah. No, of course. There's what's the saying? I can't think of it, but of course, in any sports competes to win. Of course, depending on the nature of the sport, you gotta take some abuse as well. There's no
Yeah.
getting away from that. I
Mm.
have to say that when I met you backstage for the first time, I was quite well surprised and relieved because I said to Emmanuel, who hosts a Prospects
Yeah.
MMA podcast, I said to him because he asked me to go to the event. And at first, I was quite apprehensive. I said, "Okay, I could go," but at the back of my mind, I was thinking, "This is a sport that I do like." But I'm
Mm.
quite the mixed martial arts fighters. I'm quite intimidated by you guys because when you see what happens in the cage, and think, "Wow, this is someone who really I don't want to get on the wrong side of whether it's the opponent that's winning or losing the fight." I really wouldn't like to get on the
Mm.
wrong side of them. So I was quite, I've always been quite intimidated. But when I met you backstage, you seemed very calm, collected, and even quite articulate as well. So, I was quite
Yeah.
surprised. I was quite surprised. I mean, I was going to ask you, I mean, if you weren't doing this as a mixed martial artist, and I've heard other MMA fighters say this in interviews, they say I'm not good at anything else, and that does make me feel a bit sad because you can't be good at just one thing. I mean, if you weren't doing this,
Mm.
what else would you be doing? Would you picture yourself doing?
I probably would have been doing full time security work, or even doing close protection, because I work in security part time. I do event security,
Mm-hmm.
so things like sporting events, um, concerts, stuff like that. So I do that throughout different places in London. But if I was to do it full time, yeah, I'd probably be working towards getting like a close protection license and doing bodyguarding jobs. The only reason
Okay.
why I wouldn't be doing it now, of course, is it would interrupt too much of my training, and that because when you're doing like close protection or bodyguarding jobs, for example, it's very time consuming.
Yeah, I do understand
Yeah,
that. Yeah.
especially depending on the client and things like that. But yeah, I think I definitely never like abandoned it. I think for the future or something, I still want to do something like that. I think I have an advantage, obviously, because of my background in martial arts, and and the prior experience in security work as well. I've worked at some big events like this past year. So last year, summer, I done Wimbledon. Yeah, I've done the
Okay.
Wimbledon tennis.
Sure.
I've worked at Euros. So there's some big events like that, really. You know.
Right. Um, I did check out your background. There's a particular gym that you're fighting out of that's in London. I think I may have even passed it a few times when I go into school or working. Trying
Yeah.
to get the name of it. Just give me a moment.
Hmm.
New Wave Academy.
Yeah, that's where I train. That's where I train now.
Got this connection.
Hello?
Can you
Hello?
hear me? I think that I got. I
Yeah,
think the
yeah, I can hear
connection.
you.
I think the connection's slightly. Yeah, my end is looks a bit unstable. But I mean, out of that gym, I mean, there's okay. I've gone to like there's yourself. What other
Yeah, yeah.
fighters? I mean, what other fighters are coming up that can we expect to be seen? Because I mean, if you did this, if you've done this well, especially the way you did last Saturday evening, then clearly,
Hmm.
your coaches and your team that you're working with at that gym, they must be doing not just something, they must be doing a lot of things right for you to win the way you did,
Yeah,
and
yeah.
win how you did in such a short space of time. I mean, I've
So I'll list some several fighters that are up and coming. So you might have saw him at the Ambition Fight Series, the event you were at, Hamza Raja. So he just won the title at Ambition Fight Series.
Mhm.
Um, you've got Kenny Rujan Sufakon. I think I've pronounced his surname wrong, but he just came back from doing the IMAF championships in Dubai. Again,
Okay,
very high level amateur. Um, you got Kate Batchett as well. What 1-0. She fought back in October on Battle Arena. She's looking to fight again soon, within the next 2 months, I think. I think maybe March or so. And then one of the other pro fighters, New Wave as well, Festus Ahuli.
right, okay,
He just won the Fight Star championship belt back in December.
sure.
Yeah, so we I got loads that could go on all day. So there's loads of fighters that are up and coming. And I think within the next year or so, there'll be quite a few of us that would be pro now. So obviously you got myself
Mhm.
and Festus start pro, and within the next year or so you'll have more pro fighters out of the gym. But yeah, the level of fighters we have is just at a very high standard. And amateurs as well, we don't we always look to for competitive matchups, so like we don't purposely we never look to fight hands or bombs, because it develops your skill set, you know.
I see. I apologize. I may have missed what just a few seconds, a few milliseconds, what you said there because the internet connection is not great. I think next time I just have to use my phone to do this. Um, so again, seeing how you performed on Saturday, and it's something that I try not to ask too many mixed martial arts athletes, especially those who are fighting local scene, and still, making their way up to the big promotions. Um,
Hmm.
in the next 10 or maybe in the next 5 or 6 years, not necessarily 10 years, but let's say the next 5 or 6 years, which
Yeah.
promoter, which mainstream promoter anywhere in the world would you see yourself fighting in? As would you see yourself being one of their fighters in their roster?
I'll list a few because I think there are some, nowadays you are getting a lot of good promotions that treat their fighters well. So,
Mhm.
within the next 5 years, I would like to be fighting in the UFC, Bellator, One Championship, or PFL, even. I think those four promotions like out there are some of the best. You know.
That's interesting you say that. Um, the because quite a few fighters who I've asked, um,
Mm,
they have said that yeah, the UFC is one, but it's not the UFC. They're not keen on that option as maybe they would have been a few years back. I mean, I'm sure you're
mm,
aware about the issue of Dana White and the UFC and the fighters always pushing and pressing and always campaigning for a better salary for their how they compete and how they perform in the cage there. And I think it's nothing that there's no secret in the UFC. It's almost like you sacrifice your salary over
mm.
for fame. Whereas in Bellator and One Championship, you see that the fighters can really fight well, but I've noticed they're not that famous yet. They're paid a lot better than they are paid in the number one promotion in the whole world.
Mm. I think it all depends on like the contract negotiations. There's obviously a few things you have to take into account. So like, what kind of deal your management can negotiate for you. And I think as well the momentum that you bring into a certain promotion as well. So, you know, if you've been if you've already achieved a lot within the sport prior coming to the UFC, for example. I think that can obviously affect your how much you would get paid per se, for fights. So I think it's like it's a different situation for every fighter. I think, you know, I think for because everyone's career is different,
Yeah, of
So I
course.
think it all you have to take little things into account. But I think definitely like those promotions I listed, like they're all very um the best, out there, and I think it's just more than one. There's more than one promotion that will do you good as a fighter, you know.
Let me press you on that just slightly more. Which would be your first choice, second choice, and your third choice?
Okay, I first choice would be the UFC.
Okay. All right. Okay.
UFC. I would say UFC. Yeah, because I like even as when I first like started the sport, like I was just looking like I was you know just sort of mesmerized by the level of fighters, and been following that for years, So if I ever got a chance to fight the UFC, I'd take it with both hands.
Mm, yeah. Second choice?
Second choice, let's say Bellator.
Okay.
Yeah.
No.
Well,
No, I can understand. I can understand why.
yeah. Mm.
Oh, now if you were to go once you get to the big names, would you like to fight in a different weight division? Would you like to to stay in the current weight division that you're in?
No, I'd like to stay in the current weight division that I'm in, bantamweight.
Okay.
Yeah.
Oh. Okay, and I think the last thing I'll ask you is when are we going to see you fight again? Because after seeing how you performed the other Saturday night, people definitely want to see you fight again.
So I haven't got anything set in stone yet, like for fight dates, but ideally within the next 2 to 3 months.
Okay. Oh, next 2 3 months.
Yeah, yeah, within the
Okay.
next 2 to 3 months. So I went back to training yesterday, so I had a week. I had a week off from training just to let my body recover because I've
I
been
see.
been training hard for months on end. So I just needed that week off, and then went back to it yesterday, and yeah.
Cool. I'll ask you. This is the first time I've interviewed a fighter solo on my own, so I do feel
Hmm.
sometimes there'll be an awkward gap. Usually, my co-host will step in just as they can ask you some questions. I could kind of ask you my own questions off the back of the conversation you're having with them. Um,
Hmm.
did you have a good time in this interview?
It was good. Yeah, I enjoyed the questions. Like it was good to have an opportunity to talk, especially about why I started so many years back. I think, if anyone's watching and, you haven't started training, but you're contemplating, like, go for it, like, look what it's done for me, and, where I'm at, like 10, like when I was 12, 13, I wouldn't have pictured to be the person that I am now, So I think, you ever get an opportunity to do something like this, and you don't have to compete, but just do it for your well-being, man. Because I think knowing how to hold yourself and, defend yourself, it's a life skill, like anything.
Yeah.
It's, as we all know, like, the world isn't nice out there. So,
Yes, yeah.
you know,
All right, guys, I hope you enjoyed this episode. Noah, thank you for coming on. Again, I hope you enjoyed this episode as well. And definitely we look forward to seeing you on the show again. Guys,
thank you.
if you did enjoy the show, please don't forget to leave a like and hit the subscribe button. And Noah, I'll leave the link to all your social media feeds, and hopefully you can let me know when your next fight's coming up. And I'll leave that on the comment section below. All right.
Sure.
Thank you so much. Thank you.
Thank you. Take care.
See ya.